everyone. Welcome to NUGGET 2023. It's my pleasure to be joined by Matt Neifer from TNS for a fireside chat covering monitoring today for the business of tomorrow, specifically focused on the financial services sector, as that is where TNS plays. So, Matt, thanks a ton for joining me today. Thank you for participating in your second NUGGET event. It's a pleasure to have you back after a year off. Yeah, let's go ahead and dive right into things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm down here with it being a fireside chat. I wanted to make sure we had the right motif, and I'm channeling my my inner Mr. Rogers with the little sweater action. So yeah, let's go ahead.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Exactly.
Awesome. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about TNS and what TNS does. I think that's a great place for us to start.
Sure. So TNS stands for Transaction Network Services, and we were founded back in 1990. And I know that Kyle, you had said we live in the financial services sector. Yes, that's one of the places that we live. But we do have a very major presence in multiple markets. So we play in the payments market. We also do have financial market services that we provide, as well as telecommunications. And you'll, as just about anybody, interacts with TNS on a daily basis, whether or not they know it. For example, in our payments market, with point of sale transactions and the wireless connectivity of point of sale terminals. So let's say you're going to get gas at the gas station. There's a really good chance if you're paying at the pump, we're taking care of that payment transaction from that point of sale terminal back to your credit card provider and making sure that the transaction clears. So that's one example. We also have SD-WAN as a service offering in our payments market. Our financial market, we provide ultra low level connectivity to over 140 major marketplaces across the globe. So if you and your broker are getting real time data feeds from NASDAQ, and you need to send in a buy or sell order through your broker, they're most likely taking advantage of TNS's ultra low latency connectivity to make that happen. And then in the telecommunications space, we're working with folks on a daily basis, especially if you're a Verizon wireless customer. So we have a product called Call Guardian, which is helping with spam filtration, and then also a call branding product. So you may notice on your phone, you're starting to see numbers that already have a name or a business that's associated with it. And so that's part of the way that you can not only have the spam filtering, but also the trust on the other side to pick up the phone.
That's amazing, Matt. It's one of the most fun things about doing stuff like this for me. I mean, I know I've talked to you about a little bit of that stuff before, but kind of seeing how things come full circle. So obviously, Netreo is doing some of the monitoring behind that, but you guys at TNS are touching all these aspects of our everyday life, and it's so cool to learn that about some of our customers that we otherwise probably wouldn't have known.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I want to jump in. I know we talked about TNS, but let's dive into a little bit about, so who is Matt Neifer and what is your role at TNS?
Sure. So I'm the director of network management systems and automation, but along with that comes a need for leveraging data in basically everything that we do. So it's kind of implied that my organization runs a lot of the data collection and data aggregation and data correlation capabilities across transaction network services. I'd say day to day, I'm kind of a combination of the Juggernaut from X-Men and Fix-It Felix from Wreck-It Ralph, where my group and I were all about trying to find new and innovative ways to address challenges, either for helping to deliver new services for our customers, improving the monitoring systems that we have, improving our automation capabilities, anything to really help drive a better customer experience, and working with our engineering and our operations teams to make that a reality.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So and I think that leads us right into our next question, and your role ties into this perfectly. So Obviously, the theme of Nugget this year is monitoring today for the business of tomorrow. And doing so requires ongoing transformation. But in that same vein, transformation is it's such a broad topic. So how does TNS view transformation?
So a lot of people they think that transformation is a buzzword, and then it's kind of like when you start talking about agile. Hey, we're making an agile transformation. Now we're putting two buzzwords together. But what does it really mean? And so at TNS, we're attacking it what you call in multiple ways, multiple dimensions. One of which is moving forward with technology transformation. We're looking for ways to take, say, siloed tools or siloed systems, platforms that haven't really properly integrated together in the past, and exploring ways that we can consolidate and do things more in a more straightforward manner. For example, we've got, like most customers of Netreo, or before you come to Netreo, you got multiple tool sets that are spread across your enterprise. Many times, the legacy approach was to take point solutions that were technology specific. So, for instance, you would have tools that monitored the network, you would have tools that monitored storage, you would have tools that monitor server, and so on. And what we've done, for example, with Netreo is we have looked to rationalize and centralize that monitoring, data collection, and log aggregation. So we can make better decisions. We can get more, instead of just being purely reactive. We want to get more proactive with what we're monitoring and what we're identifying. Because the sooner that we can identify something's wrong, the sooner that we can get it fixed. And the next step is preventing it from ever happening again. So that's part of it. Another area that we're really pushing forward on in transformation is a cultural transformation. TNS was acquired by Koch Industries about little over 2 years ago, and they have an entire incredible program called principle-based management. And what that helps you unlock amongst your staff is much more efficient and cleaner ways of operating and working together. It's such a great program. You don't in just kind of learning the principles that are associated with it, learning the tenets. They have this concept of mental models, and taking all of that in. You start to realize that you're having better conversations with people. Folks are being more solution oriented. There's also this major concept at Coke of principled entrepreneurship. So this concept of you are directly and have the ability to directly impact the success of the business, the success of the firm, and also keeping at the forefront the customer. The customer is the most important thing. That's how and why businesses exist, is to make sure that the customer experience is as great as it can be. And that a lot of that boils down to the people that are helping to drive the business and the success. So the cultural transformation goes right along with it. And then these different things feed into business transformation. So not only are we improving the technology stacks, we're improving and unlocking those data silos so we can make better decisions, both from a monitoring perspective or a business perspective, having better analytical data that we can leverage. But it feeds into how are we looking at and approaching our needs of our customers. So we're able to start developing better and stronger roadmaps for our products and services in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So you talked a little bit about adopting the principles of your parent company, Coke. So can you dive in a little bit and share a few of those specific principles and how they're driving success?
Sure. So they have a concept of multiple dimensions, multiple tenets. But if we boil it down and really simplify it, it's about making sure that you are continuously learning, both of building personal knowledge, but professional knowledge, but also business knowledge. So understanding where you are in the marketplace as a company, and then understanding where your capabilities lie at the personal level and driving for growth. So Charles Koch has written a great book called Good Profit. The idea is always being very value oriented, both in your personal values, but also in the value and the contributions that you have to the success of the business. Because as the business is successful, you become personally more successful, and vice versa. Because you look at some of the most admired companies, and they're very very strong when it comes to their core beliefs and core principles. And another big part of it is you honestly don't even realize it, but it helps you become a better person. But it's one of the major areas that they dive into is being transparent, and being and asking questions. You don't have to have everyone be a subject matter expert in everything. It's about unlocking the abilities of the team together, because the team is end up greater than the individual parts that make it up. So another buzzword you could borrow or leverage is synergy, where you're coming together, you're able to unlock more value together. So that's one of the major mindsets that we've been working to adopt is more collaboration around our technology teams, both within certain lines of business, but then across the lines of business. That's been really massive for us. And then another big thing is this concept of creative destruction. So when you hear something like that, you're like, okay, what does creative destruction really mean? And it's this idea of not sitting on your previous successes, not sitting on your previous laurels. So you look at somebody who's always trying to push the envelope in product, service, and technologies, like an Elon Musk, never satisfied with what's been done, because if you're not attacking the next venture, someone else will. And they're going to eat your lunch in the marketplace. So you got to make sure that you're challenging yourself from your product catalog, your service catalog, your capability stack. And then also at the end of the day, you've always got to make sure that you've got your customer, it comes first. As a company, as an individual, you're looking at being contribution motivated and providing value day in and day out.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So before we move on to the next question, I do want to let our audience tuning in today on the NUGGET platform. So a lot of these Coke methodologies and principles are actually public information. So for those of you attending, check out the link right below us. And that'll take you to exactly what Matt's talking about. You can get kind of a high level overview. But yeah, it's awesome stuff that Matt's sharing here, and I think it's applicable to just about every business out there.
Another thing that we've done is we've started book clubs inside of TNS, where we come together and talk about just things that we're learning. There's one that we're learning about right now, the Phoenix Project, that's going through and it's running through the example of really any IT shop, and you can put yourself in the position of any of the roles that are in conflict with one another. And it's all about looking at ways that you can try to tear apart what has been done and look for better and more creative and more streamlined ways that you can do things moving forward.
Awesome. That sounds great. Um, So moving on to the next question. So Matt, I think earlier on you mentioned a little bit about automation and standardization as two key areas of transformation at TNS. So what does that look like for TNS, and where are you guys headed?
Sure. So one of the other major areas that we're stressing, another key tenet of ours, is leveraging data as a strategic asset. And the reason for that is it's really challenging to put together good monitoring or good automation without good data. Good data in means good automation out. It's the same, and then that also ties in with simplifying as much as possible. Because if everything is built as a one-off or a custom solution, it's really hard to automate, because the input of time that goes into automating something that's fully customized isn't really going to be there, because you're not going to be able to scale that solution. So an example is Henry Ford with the Model T. You can have it in any color you want as long as it's black. And so the whole concept there is not to make simple products. It's to understand how do we streamline how we build and deliver those products. Another major thing that comes along with that is establishing proper tagging and labeling strategies across the enterprise. And I know a lot of customers who are going through their cloud journeys, the proper tagging strategy is paramount to be able to understand what your resources are in your cloud and in your containerized environments. Because if you spin up something in AWS, for example, they're just going to give you a barcode for your VM or your EC2 instance or your whatever your container component is. You've got to make sure that you are applying the right concept of business labeling so you're able to relate your configuration items and your assets together for the platforms that you're building. Because then no matter how good the monitoring tool is, if you don't know what that alert is or how what it ties to, what its dependencies are, you're not gonna be as effective when it comes to troubleshooting and fixing where that's broken. And so, along with making sure that we're leveraging data as a strategic asset and that standardization and normalization of data, it's making sure that we know the right relationships. Because we said with our Netreo program, we are no longer going to build all of our monitoring and maintain all of our monitoring manually. Traditionally, and this has happened at a lot of places, folks are building by hand, building into their monitoring tool as they go. We said, as we're implementing Netreo for the enterprise, we want it to be managed through automation. Now, I know Netreo has a fantastic integration with ServiceNow, so you take advantage of a lot of those configuration item relationships that exist in ServiceNow. But transaction network services, we are not a ServiceNow customer. So we have had to make sure that we take advantage of what's available within our configuration management database. So within our CMDB to figure out how do we onboard, initially onboard, but then also through a device or service lifecycle, we can continue to maintain Netreo in a clean manner. So that way we're doing monitoring it the right way, cutting down on false alarms, cutting down on noise, and making sure that our operations organizations have exactly what they need.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Matt. And I think that really leads us perfectly into the next question. I think you've touched on a lot of this along the way, but maybe just to kind of sum things up for the audience here today. So how is TNS using Netreo today, and how does monitoring or observability, whatever buzzword you want to use, how does that fit into your future vision?
So when we started with our internal Netreo program is really around monitoring, transformation, and rationalization. We were not going to be satisfied just taking what we were doing in previous platforms and trying to just replicate it with inside of Netreo. So we said, like I said previously, we wanted to make sure that we were going to build and maintain our device and our service life cycles in Netreo through automation, working with the Netreo APIs that are available. And we've worked very closely and very well with the Netreo development and engineering teams to expand the API capabilities to enable and empower to do that. So it's really been a great story. And a lot of this goes back to we don't have a ServiceNow integration, like I said previously, at TNS. So we had to get very creative in how we could attack this. So that's been a big piece, is dramatically cutting down on the operational tail associated with monitoring. But then it's also about making sure that we are monitoring the right things and able to start building the right correlations to help us identify when something's broken and really cut down on mean time to identify, mean time to resolve. So those have been really important. But then also, as part of our Netreo program, we knew we had to strengthen our configuration management relationships. So that's been a huge driver of continuous improvement in those areas as well. So in order to get the right data, we had to clean up our existing CMDB in a lot of cases. We've also identified monitoring gaps, things that we were not successfully monitoring with our legacy tools, and making sure that we wrap them in properly. So we made sure that we have closed any previous gaps that we may have had with other tools, or the missing of overlapping of tools. So that's been really, really important. And then to touch on your other question of how does monitoring and observability empower the business. My career has always been as a monitoring guy, so monitoring has always been really, really important to me. But a lot of business and IT leaders have always looked at traditionally as monitoring just kind of being a sunk cost. Like, hey, it's something I have to do to make sure that, but it's not something that provides empowerment. Well, the whole concept of observability, especially when it comes to customer experience and identifying where bottlenecks are in terms of application performances, those things, those key performance indicators are so important now for the business of tomorrow. We're able to help identify where we may be challenged from a customer perspective and be able to provide a new product or service. Also, for monitoring and observability, it's the eyes and the ears of not only technology health but business health. So, for instance, at TNS, our network or our networks are our business, whereas for other companies, their network is a function of their IT. They needed to do IT functions. For TNS, like the network is our business. The transactions are how we grow. And so it's really, really important that we are incredibly dialed in when it comes to our monitoring systems.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you make a great point there too, especially with your network being your business. I mean, there's so many potential downstream effects as well, especially when we talk about paying at the pump or buying your morning cup of coffee or something like that. The types of transactions that TNS is involved with. I mean, if that's not working, so that's also impacting the customer's business. So, and I think you guys are doing a great job from what I understand and where you guys are at.
Yeah, we're growing. We've got our we're really, really excited about where we are now and our future.
Awesome, awesome. So I think that takes us to right about time, Matt. So I want to thank you again so much for joining us. So quick, I guess after the fact, shameless plug, but if you didn't get a chance to attend the session earlier, so Gabriel Marcos from TNS, he did a session on what some of the innovations that TNS is doing with FlexiWAN in the SD-WAN space. So Matt touched on that briefly at the beginning of the session. So if you missed that session, I encourage you to go back and check that one out. It will be available on demand very soon here. But we've also, I think there's a few minutes left. So Matt is online with us today. So feel free to ask him any questions that you might have. He's also available within the NUGGET platform. Please absolutely connect with Matt. He's a wealth of knowledge. I don't want to toot your horn too much, Matt, but I mean, every time I talk to you, I learn something new. So I think it would be great for the rest of the Netreo community to get in touch with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Also available on LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to communicate through that channel, happy to respond there too.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Matt, and thank you everyone for attending this NUGGET session. We look forward to seeing you at the sessions throughout the rest of the day. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.